From the Autoline studios, here is your host, John McElroy.
Want to thank you all for joining us on Autoline this week, where we're going to be talking about the Olympics, the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympics. But we're going to be talking about the automotive tie-in to the Olympics. And oh yeah, there is an automotive tie-in. And I've got three experts with me today to talk just about that, including Trudy Hardy, the head of marketing for BMW North America, Florian Schattenmann, the head of core R&D for Dow, and Dr. Dae-Hee Kwok, who teaches sports marketing at the University of Michigan. And it's great to have you all on Autoline.
Thank you.
Trudy, I got to start with you. You got to explain what you're wearing there.
Well, as a 6-year sponsor of Team USA, our activation goes all the way to the apparel. And as it states, we are a proud partner of Team USA. So I needed to show off some of our wonderful BMW performance gear today.
Now, like you say, you've been sponsoring the U.S. Olympic team for 6 years now. But now the involvement is more than just sponsorship. BMW played a key role, in fact, the role, in designing the two-man bobsled for the U.S. team.
We definitely take our sponsorship seriously, and it is much more than that, and especially for Team USA, as the U.S. government does not help subsidize its athletes as other countries do. It really relies heavily on sponsors and corporations like us. And we have been a 6-year sponsor starting in 2010, and we like to look at the athletes and the teams to see if there's technology transfer opportunities, something that's core to BMW's business and our skills that we can help transfer to our athletes.
Yeah, and I want to get into the specifics of that technology transfer and what you're doing, but let's get some of the others involved here. And Florian, Dow is doing much the same sort of thing as well, technology transfer into the Olympics.
Yeah, that's very true. We actually support the U.S. luge team. And it's a little unusual because we are a material supplier, not a classic design transportation company. So we come from the materials end of it, and we're supporting the luge team by helping to improve their luge design. So when you look at the luge, it is really two runners and a bridge that keeps it together, and the pod where the athletes sit. So we got involved in improving the design of the material properties of these cuvins, and so we have now resulted in much improved capabilities of these luges. So the idea was, and it's very similar to how we do projects together with the automotive industry, is to kind of get conflicting requirements settled between stability, speed, and comfort for the rider, because that's very critical in the luge design.
Dae-Hee, have you seen this before? Of course, you've seen all kinds of corporate sponsorship at the Olympics, but have you seen much before of corporations transferring technology into it?
Yes, these examples are really unique cases of activation where they can actualize their and showcase their expertise in the automotive industry. For instance, using sponsoring bobsled or the luge team allows these companies to really demonstrate the speed, efficiency, and all the expertise they put into their brand. So it makes really a good fit for these companies to partnering with the Olympic Games.
Trudy, BMW, of course, doing the two-man bobsled, as we talked about. BMW is also coming out with the i3 electric car and the i8 super high-performance hybrid, which, of course, are made out of carbon fiber. Is that where you're talking about technology transfer?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one component of it in terms of the bobsled. We've been working on steering mechanisms. We've been working on weight distribution. We've been working on carbon fiber technology and transferring what we're using in our production vehicles coming, and how to apply that to the bobsled, make it lighter, make it faster, and make it safer. So that's been an important part of it.
What's the company's thinking at BMW? Because as you well know, the Germans have dominated bobsled, two-man, four-man, men and women, for a long time now. And I got to believe the German team's going, wait a minute, you're a German company, you're helping the Americans out.
We sponsor Team USA, and we're not competitive at all, really, in that regard. No, I'm only kidding. It's been 77 years since Team USA has won the gold in the two-man sled. So that's where we're looking for our biggest opportunity to help the athletes, working very closely with the federation and the organization to see where they needed the help. So this was definitely a collaborative process early on in our brainstorming. Where do you need the assistance? Where do you need the help? And it was the two-man bobsled where they really needed that assistance from us.
But I'm seeing a lot of the bobsleds go down with the BMW logo on them. So it sounds like you're sponsoring, what, the whole series, or how's that work?
We have six sleds, all two-man sleds, so both for men and for women. So we've got all of the two-man team will be running in a BMW.
No, but what I was saying is earlier in the season, starting last year,
for World Cup.
For World
Yes.
Cup,
Yes.
I saw non-U.S. team sleds with the BMW logo on them.
It's we've been off to a great start early in the season as part of the World Cup qualifications for Sochi. So we set a track record in Calgary with the men, with Steve Holcomb and Steve Langton, and we have been doing great. So the sled is performing exactly as we had hoped. So we have very high hopes for Sochi.
Fantastic. Florian, talk a little bit more about, I know Dow is big time into carbon fiber, because we had you on an earlier show a year ago talking all about carbon fiber, but I got to believe Dow's doing more than just that with the luge sled.
Absolutely, and I think this is sort of, this Olympic opportunity is kind of the way we act, or with the way we work with customers now in general. So we are more of a solution provider rather than a material supplier. And that's, so when we come in, we look at what are the opportunities to improve, and sometimes the customer, in this case also, didn't know exactly how to make the luge better. But then we looked at it and we focused on some of the areas like around the runners and so on, and built it from there. We have, besides of all the physical scientists, the chemists, the chemical engineers, the skill sets that you would expect, we in corporate R&D also have unbelievable computational capabilities, state-of-the-art computational and engineering capabilities. And so we know our materials best. We see what kind of material combinations work best, how we get the optimum efficiency out of the final design. We can even suggest some minor redesigns based on our materials. So there's a bunch of materials in Dow materials in the new luge design, and one of the big advantages now is that there is more stability, more comfort for the rider, which in luge is very important, because the moment the rider gets out of the most aerodynamic position is then when you lose time. So comfort and control are very critical for the luge rider.
Okay, so I know there's Dow carbon fiber in there,
yes.
but Dow's big into structural adhesives too. Is that part of it, and what else?
We drew very big into the adhesives envelope. Yes, we have adhesives in there. We have polyurethane in there. We have carbon fiber composite in there. We have some epoxy in there. So we have a bunch of different materials. We don't go much further in disclosing, but that's what we have in there, and it gives the and it's really interesting as you look at the luge. Where do you want to have more around dampening and comfort? Where do you want to have more rigidity? And designing this up front gave us a huge competitive advantage. Ultimately, the athlete gives us the feedback. So the test is done by US Luge on the track.
Dehi, what's the right role for an automotive supplier in this case, although much more than automotive, and an automotive company? How should they tell this story? I mean, of course, they're going to have their logos on these sleds, but how do you cash the check, as it were, getting involved the way that they're doing it?
Right. By listening to Florian, I'm actually learning more about how the close association between the Dow and the Olympics. So from a consumer standpoint, maybe it's difficult for the consumers to understand, so what does it mean that having the logo right next to 5 rings? Does it really increase any meaningful association between the two different entities? But communicating these specific elements, how their companies are providing excellent the facilities, infrastructures, or even the luge or the bobsled, it provides an opportunity to increase the involvement of the company and speaks to consumers how they provide their resources and expertise to the performance of the USA team. And also, from a customer standpoint, it also enhances these brands to really position their brand as a category leader in that particular industry by associating themselves with the one of the most watched events on the planet.
So, Trudy, you're the head of marketing at BMW North America. How are you going to tell the story?
I mean, marketing obviously is a huge component, but we want to make sure that we're authentic and credible in the space and the way that we contribute to our technology transfer stories, but then how do we get that story out there? And we try to activate on every level possible and take advantage of the rights to the rings. And it's such a positive brand association for us. I mean, this is where, as competitive as our landscape is, everyone pulls together for Team USA. So it's a real feel-good opportunity. I think it really helps improve brand image and really promoting the games and the spirit of the games. We activate with television, documentary on the making of the bobsled as well. So how do we get that storytelling out there about BMW's involvement and how we're helping to advance our athletes for success? So print and digital and event activation as well. So we take full advantage, as you can see, of every possible opportunity to market this wonderful partnership.
Now, I know you've got videos on YouTube about that, but you're saying a television documentary?
Television documentary, so yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And we'll get into a bit more because the development is a terrific story. Anybody who enjoys design, engineering, and manufacturing will eat this all up.
Absolutely.
But Florian, I've got to ask you, I know you're not the marketing guy, you're R&D, but how's Dow going to tell the story of its involvement?
Well, we're a little different than BMW that we don't sell a lot to consumers. We talk to other businesses. So how do we get our name out? And then we are a big chemical company that's often we're known for, right? We're trying to show the world that we actually have graduated to a solution provider and how we do that. And so it gives us a couple of opportunities. It gives us the opportunity to show how we work with customers. Normally customer relationships are very confidential and quiet and so on. In this case, we can show as sort of as an example how we do this, how we solve problems. The other part is everybody on this planet touches Dow products from the moment they get up until they go to bed. They just don't know it a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And so this entire Olympic environment gives us to show this off. We have a lot of materials around the infrastructure of the Olympics that are all based on Dow materials, from the tarps and even the liquids that cool the ice for ice events. Mm-hmm. These thermal transfer liquids are made by Dow and so on. So materials that normally you would never think about, now we have a chance with the 5 rings to get them across to the overall population. So there's a lot of power in that. In that marketing that we normally couldn't do directly to the customer.
Dee, what do you think? What do you think of a company that does not directly sell to consumers getting involved in a very public event like the Olympics?
Well, I think it's interesting to see both the business-to-consumer brand and the business-to-business oriented brand. As far as the business-business brand from consumers, it would be beneficial for this type of brand to really communicate their efforts and their involvement with the Olympics with their partners. So it would enhance the understanding of how the Dow can to really showcase their expertise in at the games. I think that would be the more effective ways to bring the Dow into the Olympics.
So, and I imagine Dow would have customers being entertained at the Sochi. Isn't that one of the ways of really getting the connection?
Right. There are various sponsorship-related objectives. For Dow, for instance, it could be hospitality. Could be one of their key objectives to entertain their clients in the Sochi and then the host cities, where they can really have the business contracts with the local hosting cities. So that could be one other element where the Dow, for this type of business-to-business, the company can activate their sponsorship rights.
Trudy talked about the right to the rings. Does it really pay off? Do you see the Olympics as a good way of marketing your product?
The research on the sponsorship effectiveness has increased over the 10 to 15 years in the past. It really depends on the objectives of the sponsorship. How does a company set their goals? What do they want to get out of from this sponsorship relationship? some upcoming companies would like to increase the brand awareness to begin with in the new markets, or some well-known brands would like to enhance the loyalty or continue that brand attitudes. So it really depends on what type of key objectives you have from the sponsorship. It will to make how do you measure the effectiveness of the sponsorship in terms of return on investment?
Yeah, obviously BMW is not a fledgling brand that needs brand exposure. What's some of the theory behind you getting involved in this?
I think it adds to our image. It really bolsters our image, especially when we're helping to give back to athletes. It also helps that we activate on all levels. We want to take full advantage of the rights to the rings, whether that's broadcasting opportunities within the games, which we have secured, so you will see that coming up, and as well as customer activation, dealer activation. We'll be giving some lucky customers via social media the ability to win a chance to go down in Park City with the sled. So it won't be the two-man because we need a driver and a brakeman, but we'll take them on. That's an experience of a lifetime for some people to bring them out and have them enjoy that Olympic ride. So
I want to sign up.
Really
Let me tell you, I truly do. Florian, though, I'm curious, how did Dow get involved in this? BMW's been sponsoring for 6 years here. I kind of understand how that might have come about. Did Dow go to the Olympic Committee? Did the U.S. Olympic Committee come to Dow? How did this all work out that Dow ended up designing the luge?
Yeah, so we looked always for opportunities to get more brand awareness directly to the customers. And it was at some point very clear that the Olympics touch everybody. And almost any sports fan, or even people that are not sports fan, for those 2 weeks, in the winter or in the summer, you tune in. You cannot. It's the overall story, right? So we decided in 2010 as a company to become the chemical company for the Olympics. And then with U.S. Luge, we actually already had a fledgling relationship, sort of since 2007. The current intensity really started when the new technical director, Duncan Kennedy, started there in about a year and a half ago, and that's when we got pulled into the certain level of engagement.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Is there a downturn at all, or is there a danger at all getting involved in the Olympics?
Considering the massive amount of investment that companies have to spend just to get the rights to use the 5 rings, and on top of that, you want to spend extra investment to really activate the relationship, to make it a more meaningful association in consumers' minds. So with that high investment involved in this partnership, there's always a risk of ambush marketing, for instance. There could be other companies where they can try to associate themselves without paying a rights fee to the IOC and then being remembered by the consumers as an official partner of the Olympics. So there could be a risk associated with it. And also, in addition, measuring the return on investment it's very difficult to quantify the brand attitudes or the brand awareness. How do you really turn that increase in the brand attitude or awareness into the dollar amount? So that becomes really the challenging task for the managers, I believe.
I imagine it's one thing to be a consumer brand, very well known, and your 30-second ad or your 15-second ad pops up between heats. But are BMW and Dow taking a risk? Because what if, and I don't think it's going to happen, the luge doesn't go very well or the bobsled doesn't do very well? Couldn't that kick back in a negative way?
Right. Another element that makes a sports sponsorship effective is it is tied to the performance of the team or the property that these brands are sponsoring. So in this case, well, we already see some of the luge team or the bobsled team having a good results from this partnership, but there's a story behind to it where you can tell a great story about their involvement with the Olympics. And one of the brand attributes that companies can get from associating themselves with the Olympics is they get their brand attributes such as inspiring. So the brand can tell the genuine story of supporting the Team USA, and they're behind the team to succeed in the Olympics. So it's a matter of, I guess, the marketers, the role to how do you going to customize those messages to continue a dialogue with the consumers, regardless of the results of the game.
Mm-hmm. Trudy, I asked Florian this, but how did BMW get involved in the sled? Same question. Did BMW go to the Olympic Committee or vice versa?
Well, actually, in addition to being a sponsor of Team USA, we sponsor 4 of the national governing bodies. So we sponsor for the Winter Games, bobsled and skeleton and speed skating, and for the Summer Games, track and field and swimming. So it started actually early in the relationship with swimming and track and field. We developed a velocity measurement system to help improve long jumpers and their ability to get real-time metrics back with some of our camera system technology, as well as a motion detection system for swimming for the USA swimming team to help improve the dolphin kick, because that is where the race is won or lost. So this is not our first technology transfer endeavor with bobsled. So this is different because it's a physical piece of equipment that you can see, you can feel, and you can touch. And I think that that's what makes it so powerful. But this is not our first technology transfer.
This is fascinating. I didn't know that. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. BMW involved in the bobsled. It's a vehicle. It's a very fast vehicle. Maybe it's the ultimate bobsled machine. But the dolphin kick? Yeah. Who would have ever thought that BMW was helping the U.S. swim team swim faster?
Right. With some of the camera systems that we have in place, we were able to use some of that same technology to help them improve and get that. They get to see their motions and get to see how they come off the line. So we worked with Ricky Behrens, who's one of our BMW performance team members, to help them. And that helps, the race is won or lost in those turns. So.
Florian, Trudy said that some of the early results on the bobsled are very, very encouraging, breaking the record at Park City, did you say? Calgary. Mm-hmm. How about what's the luge look like?
Similar in Winterberg, in Germany. Actually, the team event, U.S. got second place, defeating or beating the Germans at their home game. So that was a big result for the team, and a lot of it is due to the new sleds and how they perform. Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of it is what we talked about before, right? Is based on our experience in the automotive area. Is about getting that perfect balance.
Well, I love the irony in this. Here's Trudy, an American working at a German company helping the Americans. Here's Florian, a German at an American company helping the Americans. You got to feel somewhat conflicted about this.
I am a conflicted individual, yeah. But at the same time, when I sit back during the Olympics and to look at the events, I can sit back and I'll be a winner either way.
No, I agree. It's fun when I watch the Olympics. By the end of the Olympics, I'm not necessarily rooting just for the Americans. It's
the spirit.
It's the spirit of the games and who.
That's incredible.
And that's a great thing about the Olympics. You can tap into the local pride, but at the same time, you can gain the global prestige. So I think that's what makes Olympic continuing to increase their sponsorship rights fees and then broadcasting fees escalating.
But Dahi, the games last 2 weeks, and then they're gone for 4 years. In 2 years we'll have the summer. So as an advertiser, I got to believe, or a sponsor, you don't want to go, okay, it's over 2 weeks, we spent all this money, and that's that. Wouldn't you advise somebody to say you've got to have a continuing message to remind everyone of this?
Oh, absolutely. The most widely recognized the Olympic partner brands is McDonald's and Coca-Cola in consumers' minds because they've been around more than 40 years. For Coca-Cola, it's almost a centennial now in making their relationship with the Olympics. So as Trudy also mentioned a little bit, continuing the support for the team even after the 2 weeks of events, that is demonstrating their support for the Team USA, not just for the vying for the gold, but that they're continuing their relationship. That is a key element. They're showing their sincere and genuine the relationship that they want to trying to build, not trying to exploit the commercial gains from the Olympics.
How are you going to keep that message going?
You're absolutely right, and the off years are just as important as when it's games time. And we do what's called Drive for Team USA. So we help bring our dealers into the mix, where we will make a donation for every test drive that we get to Team USA for every person that comes in and gets behind the wheel of a BMW. So a great way to also involve our dealers throughout the year. We'll do events at 100 days out. We'll do 1 year out events. So having our athletes make performances, as well as making sure that we still market those rings. So it's an important thing to think about every day of the year.
You're doing the two-man sled. Last Olympics, the U.S. four-man team took the gold. But any thoughts of doing them a four-man sled?
Not yet, but I wouldn't rule it out. But we're going to see how this goes. But I have really high hopes for the two-man.
Yeah. No, this is very exciting. Anybody who's followed the Olympics knows that in the very early days of bobsled, I'm talking back in the 1920s and 30s, the U.S. dominated the sport. And then the Germans took over.
Yeah, that's true.
Florian, what's the next plans? Are you just going to keep with the luge here, or any other thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity for us to work with one team, and now we're going to branch out and see if there's other athlete opportunities that we can help. But also remember, a lot of our materials go into infrastructure, right, around the stadium, while they get built years in ahead. So our off years are very important in that regard, that we help bring our materials into the stadiums. It could be anything from foams and tarps and so on. There could be all down materials in there, and so we're going to be very active, even the tracks and so on. So that's where we already get a lot of the benefit of our Olympic sponsorship.
Well, I think this is a fascinating story. I'm getting real excited. I can't wait to see how these games go, especially in the bobsled and luge. But I got to thank you all. Dr. Dae-Hee Kwok from University of Michigan, Florian Schattenmann, the head of core R&D at Dow.
Thank you.
And Trudy Hardy, the head of marketing for BMW North America. It's been fantastic having you all here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
And want to thank all of you for having tuned in.